Welcome to Storycraft Portal, where every story unfolds with emotion, truth, and the power to shake your soul. Today's tale isn't just news, it's a haunting reality. Imagine a quiet school morning shattered by gunshots, 2 lives stolen, and behind the trigger, a young girl. But the real twist? Her own father, now under arrest, accused of a chilling role in the darkness that unfolded. What pushes a daughter to kill? And could her father have stopped it, or worse, played a part? This isn't just a crime. It's a tragedy soaked in secrets, silence, and the scream of a broken home. It was just another chilly morning in rural Wisconsin, students shuffling into the halls of Maple Ridge High, unaware their ordinary day would end in tragedy. Among them was 16-year-old Eliza Morningside, quiet, intelligent, often invisible. But today, she walked differently. Eyes cold, purpose carved into her face. In her backpack, a gun wrapped in a hoodie. No one noticed. Not her teachers, not her friends, and certainly not the cameras that were supposed to keep this place safe. At 9:32 a.m., 2 gunshots tore through the silence. Screams followed. Panic spread like wildfire. 2 students collapsed lifeless. Eliza stood still, as if nothing had happened. When the sirens came, she didn't run. She dropped the weapon and whispered, "He told me to do it." Who is he? As police rushed her away, one name came up again and again, her father. But why? And how deep does this nightmare go? As the news of the shooting gripped the town, Eliza sat in a cold interrogation room, silent. Her hands trembled, not with guilt, but fear. Detectives asked, begged, even shouted. Only one phrase left her lips again. "He told me to do it." But who was he? Her father, Daniel Morningside, a former military man turned reclusive, was known for his stern discipline and withdrawn nature. Neighbors recalled late night shouting, Eliza crying on the porch. But no one ever looked too closely. Inside her journal, found in her locker, were disturbing sketches, guns, blood, and a shadowy figure always watching. On the last page, just hours before the attack, she wrote, "He says I'll finally be free." The town wanted answers. The media wanted blood, but the police needed proof. As Daniel arrived at the station, one detective whispered, "He's not surprised she did it." What was Daniel hiding behind those cold, unblinking eyes? Daniel Morningside didn't flinch as detectives played the surveillance footage. He watched his daughter walk into school, pull out the gun, and fire. Still, no emotion. "She's always been fragile," he finally muttered, but something was off. Eliza's mother died mysteriously 6 years ago, ruled accidental overdose. But relatives hinted otherwise. Now, investigators looked into Daniel's past. 2 misconduct charges in the military dropped. A therapist report from Eliza's childhood revealed trauma, but the details were blacked out. When officers searched their home, they found a locked basement. Inside, recordings. Dozens of hours of Daniel interviewing Eliza, whispering things to her in the dark. "Do you want to be strong? They'll all laugh if you don't act." It wasn't discipline. It was manipulation. The deeper they dug, the more twisted it got. But would Eliza testify against a man she called both dad and master? Or was she still under his control? When they played the tapes, the room fell silent. Daniel's voice echoed, slow and cold. "You're not weak, Eliza. Weak people get forgotten." His words coiled around her mind, each session pushing her further. Eliza's voice, young, scared, asked if she could stop. "No," he snapped. "This is how we finish what your mother started." Investigators froze. What did he mean? Eliza's mother, once a teacher at that very school, was fired months before her death under strange circumstances, accused of inappropriate behavior, never proven. The idea formed. Was Eliza a weapon shaped by her father's hate? A legacy of revenge? More disturbing was the last recording. Daniel saying, "The plan begins Monday. Don't fail me." Monday was the shooting. The DA now had enough to arrest Daniel. But would a jury believe Eliza was brainwashed? Or would they see her as a killer hiding behind a broken past? The courtroom was packed. Media, survivors, a town thirsty for closure. Daniel pleaded not guilty. Eliza, pale and thin, sat beside her lawyer, unable to meet her father's eyes. The prosecution called it emotional terrorism, claiming Daniel molded his daughter into a killer. The defense said Eliza acted alone, a broken girl with buried rage. Then they played the tapes. Gasps echoed. Eliza cried silently, her hands shaking. But the bombshell came when her mother's sister took the stand. She tried to leave him, she said. He said if she did, he'd ruin the one thing she loved, Eliza. Suddenly, the overdose didn't look like an accident. The jury stared at Daniel, who showed no reaction. Outside, protesters held signs, "Justice for the dead." Inside, one question remained: was Eliza a victim or just another mask Daniel wore to hurt the world? The sixth day of trial revealed the most horrifying detail yet. A forensic psychologist, assigned to evaluate Eliza, testified, "What I saw was not madness. It was programming." Eliza had been conditioned for years, subtle punishments, sleep deprivation, manipulation masked as love. Her father didn't just abuse her, the doctor said. He erased her. Eliza's drawing from age 10 showed a stick figure holding a gun, another lying in blood. Her teacher had once flagged this, but the report disappeared. It was Daniel's old military contact who buried it. Now retired, he was subpoenaed and confessed. He said he was raising a soldier. The courtroom gasped. Daniel finally reacted, smiling. Chilling, cold, like he had won. But Eliza finally broke the silence. She stood, trembling, and said in a small voice, "He made me forget who I was." The room fell dead silent. She wasn't just a killer. She was his creation. The investigation now dug into Daniel's past. A whistleblower emerged, an ex-friend and survivalist buddy named Trent, who shared chilling memories. He always said the world was broken, and Eliza would fix it, Trent testified. A hidden flash drive found in Daniel's truck revealed a manifesto titled The Final Lesson. Inside, he detailed his philosophy. Children are born pure, but if guided, they can become weapons of justice. Included were video logs of Eliza shooting at dummies, Daniel praising her. "You're my purpose," he whispered in one. Meanwhile, Eliza's mind spiraled. She began therapy in custody, confronting memories she had long buried. Her mother begging Daniel to stop, the threats, the bruises. The court now faced an unbearable question. Was this still a murder case, or something darker? Was Eliza's entire life a crime scene? Closing arguments began, and the air felt electric. The prosecution called Daniel a man who weaponized love. They painted Eliza as his puppet, showing photos, recordings, and the twisted manifesto. The defense struggled. Some jurors wept when hearing Eliza's whispered apologies on tape. But the tension escalated when Daniel unexpectedly demanded to speak. The judge hesitated, then allowed it. Daniel stood, looked at the jury, and calmly said, I gave her strength. You call it abuse, I call it awakening." Gasps filled the room. Eliza couldn't even lift her head. Outside, national media crowded the courthouse. Inside, the jury's faces darkened. They had to decide, punish the puppet or destroy the puppeteer. That night, jurors didn't sleep. One was overheard whispering, "This isn't just a trial. It's a war for that girl's soul." The verdict was coming, but no one could predict what justice would look like. On the 10th day, the verdict was announced. The room held its breath. First, Daniel Morningside, guilty on all counts: child endangerment, criminal manipulation, conspiracy to commit murder. But Eliza? The jury hesitated. Then, guilty of involuntary manslaughter, not murder. She collapsed in her lawyer's arms, sobbing, not from relief, but grief. The judge, in a rare move, suspended her sentence pending psychiatric rehabilitation. Eliza was to be moved to a treatment center, not prison. Outside, the crowd cheered, others jeered. But inside, one image lingered: Daniel being led away, still smiling, as if he had planted a seed too deep to die. In her therapy journal, Eliza wrote, "He's gone, but the voice still whispers." The war wasn't over. Not for her. But the court had spoken. A child had been used. A monster had been unmasked. And justice, however imperfect, had taken its first breath. Months passed. The world moved on. But for Eliza, healing had just begun. In therapy, she painted, wrote, cried, and finally remembered who she was. Her nightmares faded slowly. One day, she stood in front of the mirror and whispered, "You're not him." That same day, Daniel died in prison, stabbed by another inmate. The news shook her, but not for long. She lit a candle, not for him, but for the lives he ruined. The school where the tragedy happened held a memorial, and surprisingly, Eliza was invited to speak. With trembling hands, she took the stage and said, "I was a weapon, but today, I choose to be human." The crowd stood silent, then clapped, not in celebration, but in mourning, healing, and hope. The case was closed. For the story, it would live on as a warning. Monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they live inside our homes.